Great morning, everyone, and welcome to the rebroadcast of Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. We're excited to see you here. This is an opportunity for you to listen in on an engaging conversation with transportation agency leaders on projects that will shape a better Georgia. Towards the end of this presentation, you'll see a QR code appear on your screen. Please take a couple of moments just to complete that survey so we can hear about your experience. Without further ado, grab your notebook, grab your pen, and welcome into the room.
Good morning, everybody. I'd like to officially welcome everyone to Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. It is good to see you. We can clap for that. It's good to see so many smiling faces, and I'm happy that everybody made it here safely this morning. My name is Darius Broughton, and I'm the Metro Atlanta Client Service Leader for H&TB. On behalf of our firm, I'd like to express our gratefulness for your attendance and participation. We'd also like to thank our host, Georgia Piedmont Technical College, and our sponsor, the Georgia Department of Transportation, for their courtesy and provision. My friends and colleagues, we've arrived at a watershed moment in our lifetime. Our nation's leaders understand that America's infrastructure is vital to our economy and quality of life. With that understanding, the federal government has executed the largest bipartisan infrastructure bill in more than half a century, purposing upwards of $1.2 trillion to repair, enhance, and expand our aging assets in transportation, transit, aviation, water, resilience, and broadband. So this infusion of funding unlocks many opportunities to truly grow our region and its people in an unprecedented way. But it also raises extremely important questions. Have we coalesced around the right ideas? Have we collaborated enough to understand the true future needs across modes and disciplines? Have we engaged our constituents and ensured that their ideas contribute to our decisions in a valuable and visible way? Have we prepared concepts and designs that are both practical and shovel-ready? And most importantly, are we structured to implement our plans in an efficient and responsible manner? The Infrastructure Investment and Jobs Act requires that we plan adequately, communicate effectively, forecast accurately, and execute efficiently. In essence, we must be good stewards of this current moment and insightful leaders into our region's future. We have a responsibility to maximize our potential in this present opportunity. Collectively, we must get this right. As this chance will likely not occur again while we live and breathe. And I know that sounds dramatic, but it's true, right? So where unprecedented circumstances arise, qualified leadership must guide us into collective goal setting, planning, and implementation. Fortunately, we have such leadership here with us today. This symposium shall provide a guided conversation with a few of our region's most influential leaders. They embody the leadership characteristics at the core of H&TB's corporate principles. Traits such as vision, sound judgment, and a collaborative mindset are necessary for the delivery of our region's future. I ask that everyone here today take time to reflect on your personal responsibility to the region to help deliver a better future. Ask yourself, what characteristics do you need to display in order to aid in the success of this endeavor? Also, I ask that each of you be intentional in networking with others in this room and beyond. Our continued collaboration coupled with leadership will provide the spark that ignites our success. I'm happy to be a part of this collective team. So with human capital being a primary focus in IIJA, it is apropos that we introduce Dr. Tavares Holston. As president of our host institution, he is passionate about student success and workforce development. His journey as an educator has spanned over 20 years, with most of those years being in various leadership roles. Dr. Holston holds a doctorate in education from Valdosta State University, a Master of Science in Management with a focus in leadership and organizational effectiveness from Troy University, and a Bachelor's of Business Administration and Management from the University of North Georgia. Dr. Holston is also a U.S. military veteran and deeply cares about the development of our future leaders. With that being said, Dr. Holston, please.
Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to Georgia Piedmont Technical College. I'm the president of this great institution. It is our joy and our pleasure to host you. We're excited that you're here because the work that you're doing and that you're discussing here is very relevant for what we do as a college. You've heard the numbers, you've seen it in the news reports. There's a lot of work to be done in this industry. That's what really excites me about this opportunity. And one of the things that I can say is this is so pertinent to the work that we've been doing here at the college. One of the things I just want to mention that might be of particular interest to you is that our college is actually in the process of building a regional transportation center. And there's a lot of things that excite me about this project as it relates to this discussion you're having here today. Some of the programs that we'll be teaching out of that program will include civil engineering, diesel technology. We're already doing commercial truck driving training there. We'll be doing logistics technology as well as supply chain management. That is just a snapshot of what would be offered. That will also be offering a lot of our workforce and potential workforce who don't have a high school equivalency, a GED or a high school equivalency at no cost to the learner. So there's a lot of work that we're doing in this field. And I can tell you that the partnership that we have experienced for this project it kind of outlines the importance of what we're doing. For instance, this project is being funded largely by our state government. Governor Kemp, he said he's sending about $6.9 million for this project. We have national and federal support for this project. There was recently announced another $1 million towards this project. And I believe that as you watch the headlines in the next day or so, you'll see another $4 million coming to this project. And I think that speaks to the importance of what's happening here as far as the need for a workforce, the training that we do, the work that you all are doing. So we're really excited about this. And that's why I thought it would be very pertinent to this conversation. And so we're excited to host you. We're excited to partner with this endeavor with you. And if there's anything that we can do as a staff, as a college, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. So thank you. I encourage you to enjoy your conference. You have some very esteemed panelists. Thank you.
Good morning. I'm gonna do that again. Good morning. Good morning. Very good, thank you. It is good to see everybody today. It is good to be here together. It is good to see a few faces without a mask on. It's just good to be here. So you've heard from our speakers, this is a very pivotal time in the history of transportation that's going to greatly impact the future of transportation. And so understanding that, we have brought together just a few friends to have a conversation with us and give us some insight on how we can utilize the opportunities that are coming to us. So our first speaker today is Mr. Russell McMurray. Russell McMurray serves as the Commissioner of the Georgia Department of Transportation, the state agency responsible for the nation's 10th largest state transportation system, with an operating budget of over $3.5 billion and a staff of nearly 4,000. And I'm going to ask us to mute our phones. Just go ahead and silence them for me. Thank you. Okay. Commissioner McMurray began his career with the department in 1990 as an engineering intern working in construction. He served in a variety of roles prior to being named chief engineer. He was then appointed by Governor Nathan Deal as the department's planning director before being appointed as commissioner by unanimous vote of the Transportation Board in 2015. McMurray currently serves as the secretary and treasurer of the American Association of State Highway and Transportation Officials, as well as the chair of the Council on Highways and Streets and a member of the Strategic Management Committee. He is a member of the National AASHTO AGC ARTBA Joint Policy Committee and is a board member for the Atlanta Transit Link Authority, MARTA, CERTA, the State Depository Board, and the Board of Trustees of the Georgia Outdoor Stewardship Trust Fund. McMurray has received numerous accolades and recognitions, including being named Georgia Trend's 2018 Georgian of the Year, and is consistently included in its list of the 100 most influential Georgians. McMurray graduated cum laude from Georgia Southern University with a bachelor's degree in civil engineering technology and is a registered professional engineer in the state of Georgia. Please welcome Commissioner Russell McMurray.
Well, thank you, Emanuela, for that obituary. It won't have to be written one day. So, hey, it's great to be with you, and I want to thank HNTB for pulling this group of folks together. And as I look across the crowd, you're a good-looking crowd, number one. And two, thank you for taking time away from your busy schedules to come learn and educate yourself. So I'm really excited to talk about what the IIJA, or Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, is going to mean to Georgia and what the opportunities are. So that's my goal today. But the title, with my colleagues sitting over here, Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, is a pretty fitting title. And if you're old enough, you may remember a movie of that same title. And no, I'm not Steve Martin with the hair color. I actually was going through a drive-through and the lady's like, "You look like that movie star." And I'm thinking, Brad Pitt? And she's like, "No, the one with what was the father of the bride? You remember that? Oh. I said, "Oh, thanks." My ego plummeted very quickly. Well, so we're not here to talk about a cross-country trip with John Candy and Steve Martin that turned out to be such a funny movie. And if you're I'm looking across this room, some of you know this, others go watch it on Netflix, okay? It's before your time. But that's not what we're about today. Today, we're really talking about how Congress has really moved, as you've heard already, in a significant way. In fact, probably the most historic transportation investment going back to the creation of the first transportation investment back in 1916, just a few decades ago. So one of the things I love this, and this is another generational thing here, is if you remember where this came from, something called Schoolhouse Rock when cartoons came on Saturday mornings. The rest of you go YouTube it. There's a little song that goes along with this that's just a bill sitting on Capitol Hill. Well, for a long time, transportation agencies, no matter what type, if it's a DOT or a transit agency or an airport like Hartsfield-Jackson International, have advocated that we need more investment in transportation infrastructure. I mean, we've been making that plea for decades now. And transportation bills, I'll talk about in a minute, are sort of few and far between. And Congress really did rise to the occasion now with the IIJA. And that's what IIJA stands for. Some people say EJA, some people call it Bipartisan Infrastructure Law, some people call it bill. So if I refer to any of those things, you now know what I'm talking about. But Congress passed this last year, and the president signed it early last year. One of the challenges that has been was the funding part, and I'll come back to that. The infrastructure bill does a lot of things. And today we really, with planes, trains, and automobiles, are sort of that transportation focus. But the largest part of the $1.2 trillion bill or bipartisan infrastructure law was non-transportation related items, such as power, the energy grid. You saw what happened in Texas during a snow event last year in ice. Broadband infrastructure, because just think about being here at this institution of how critical broadband is for learning, and not only here in urban areas, but across all of rural America. Water infrastructure, again, critical, especially to the West Coast, and there were some West Coast things focused on water, and resiliency projects as well. Now, all of you are in different arenas of jobs and work. there's a lot of opportunity that's the non-transportation focus that's going to exist with IIJA as well. Where those dollars are administered from is going to be different agencies at the federal level and then at the state level. DCA, Department of Community Affairs, heavily in broadband, also probably for water projects and things like that. Power infrastructure, we'll see how that works, obviously heavily regulated from the Public Service Commission. The left side of the chart there shows you sort of the US DOT approach, and I've listed just sort of the high level funding for the transportation, surface transportation, as our other colleagues will talk about transit and aviation. The thing with the bipartisan infrastructure law bill is that it is a 5-year piece of legislation, which is traditional for transportation reauthorization or transportation funding. And it's a 5-year period. So this is good because it gives us the ability to plan and execute over time. You heard initially that we have to execute what it is that we do with these dollars. So this gives us time to be responsive, to plan and execute. As I think about the bipartisan infrastructure law, I like to put it into these 4 buckets. The existing formula programs, which include more money, and I'm going to take a deeper dive into that. So transportation dollars and federal dollars for federal transportation don't come to Georgia's bank account. These are federal dollars that are appropriated, and we have to use our state dollars or local dollars to advance a project, and then we seek reimbursement from the federal government. The other thing that the transportation law does is there's programs where how the dollars have to be spent, and there's congressional language that tells you what these programs are and what the intent is. And then how do you gain access to those dollars? And we'll walk through those in a minute. The second bucket, the yellow bucket, is the new formula programs. And the formulas are based a lot on population, miles of roads, number of assets that they may have as it relates to transit, ridership, as it relates to aviation, takeoff and landings, things like that. So they have these formulas that dollars go to the states that are, the word is apportioned to the states. So there's these formulas, and they set these programs in the law. The blue bucket actually probably should be a little bigger. The blue bucket for discretionary spending is really big in the bipartisan infrastructure law. There are a lot of programs, I forget 60-something discretionary programs, I think it is, that states, agencies, authorities, cities, and counties can go and try to pull down discretionary dollars in the programs that they exist. This is a wonderful opportunity, especially for cities and counties. And I can tell you that the Secretary of Transportation, Secretary Pete Buttigieg, was a mayor, and he really likes cities. So we expect cities to do real well because he comes from being a mayor and understands how cities operate. So this is going to provide lots of opportunities for these discretionary funds across the state, especially with cities and counties. So we look forward to that as well. Certainly helps. And the last Home Depot bucket there, the orange bucket, is the policy and programs. Inside the infrastructure law, there was a lot of policies and programs. One of those was streamlining the environmental process, codifying streamlining the environmental process that helps projects move a little faster, which is good. Another interesting policy and program there is something called the mileage-based user fee. You've heard about how many electric vehicles are coming out, and every ad on TV is about electric vehicle. The electrification of the transportation system is big, so Congress wants to know how do you fund transportation going forward, because currently transportation is partly at the federal levels funded by a excise tax on gas and diesel, and then part of general fund. So, looking forward, how do we fund transportation going forward? So that's sort of policy programs. There's a lot of other things, everything from a wildlife crossing to, how do you pay for, how do we fund transportation? So a lot of policy program things out there. Let's jump into some numbers here. And hopefully you can see that a little bit. So these are the formula. The first bucket on the left are sort of in the blue category, and the yellow bucket marries up to the yellow bucket. And what I want to tell you is that the bipartisan infrastructure law, this is to Georgia, okay? This is an annual amount to Georgia. And what it's comparing you to, as you look in that second column, is the percentage increase over the previous transportation bill that was called the FAST Act. So we're trying to give you some relative what's the increase in funding. On aggregate, it increases funding on a first year basis by about 21%. So that's a big step up as it relates to funding. These are the programs. As I told you, there's different programs: the National Highway Performance Program, Surface Transportation Block Grant Program, and you can see the percent increases. And actually, the National Freight Program decreased just a little bit, just a few $1 million there. But generally, you can see what the increases were to these different programs. Those first three programs are sort of the bread and butter of the projects that we put out as Department of Transportation. That's where the biggest part of those dollars go to the, sort of the big system, the roadway systems, the bridges, and safety, obviously. So they're very important. Also on the right column is how much it increases per year, which is fantastic. So not only did Congress appropriate a record level, some 21% for I'm just talking surface transportation. Transit was even bigger, and aviation also different. So I'm just talking about sort of the roads and bridges. I'm the automobile part of the conversation, remember? Planes, trains, automobiles. So this is what these dollars are. So each year after that, for the next 4 years, a 2% increase each year on top. So that is a tremendous growing power that hopefully will inflation won't eat that away as we move forward, but if not, at least it holds its balance, if you will, of making a significant increase. When we talk about these yellow buckets now, there's 4 programs there that are new programmatics. The first one is carbon reduction, which will be projects that basically try to eliminate greenhouse gas or reduce greenhouse gases. So think about these. These will be opportunities for trails, paths, non-motorized investments in transportation, as well as technology that helps to move vehicles more efficient, like signal synchronization and things like that. Since Congress just appropriated these dollars a couple of weeks ago and the president signed it under the omnibus package, Federal Highway is still working to write all the rules of what this is like. So we're paying attention to that, but that's a significant investment. 65% of these dollars go to the metropolitan planning organizations around the state, and the DOT uses the balance. Protect formula, very excited about this. This is about resiliency. This is dealing with things where the environment, we've seen environmental challenges and strains and constraints. A lot of this will be things that help enforce the coastal areas where we have a lot of coastal flooding in general, and also if you're in the mountains where we have slides, where the mountains and the roads try to slide. So you got dollars, we've got dollars now to work on those things. Bridges are always important, and about $45 million a year going to replacing bridges. These will predominantly be local bridges, city, county bridges. And so we're glad to have these dollars. I do have to say we were disappointed we got the lowest federal amount given out. But the reason for that was our bridges are in the best shape, relatively speaking, to other states. So that was sort of the good news, bad news. And the last one is electric vehicle charging infrastructure. As I've talked about, big emphasis on electric vehicles. And Georgia certainly is in a great position with several companies that are in EV charging business. Bluebird School Bus down in Middle Georgia is making electric school buses, and the announcement of Rivian just east of here of making electric pickup trucks and SUVs. So Georgia's in a big way for electric vehicles as far as our economy goes. And now this is dollars to promote putting charging stations along the interstates. That's the first dollars go to put charging stations along the interstates, such that the nation can be better connected. So as we look about DBE award amounts, you can see that we're on a good trajectory. We're not where we need to be as it relates to our goals attainment, but this is the federal program, and you can see the C-level increase there in the last year of 2021. And so, you take a little bit of a look back, and the IIJA is going to give us the trajectory to continue to move forward in an upward trajectory, which is exciting. One of the things I'm most excited about is the efforts that Kimberly King, and she's sitting right here, and you'll hear from Kimberly later, our director of EEO, is one of their whole focuses has been trying to get more DBEs to be primes. And you can see this trajectory of how we've really increased from a few years ago of 11 primes now up to 53 being primes last year with $28.2 million at that contract value. So one of those things this is really a great chart of success, and I want this trajectory to continue to grow for these prime opportunities that exist. Now, these are the photo moment slides, this one and the next one, right? Okay. I'm very proud of the work that Kimberly and her team does, and we do this through help of consultants on our non-MMIP program, and I'll mention MMIP in a minute. But our DBE supported services at the federal level is administered through CEI, DBE supported services. There's the website, the phone number, a copy of the web page where we have applications and forms for you to use, providing training opportunities. One of the coolest things is bid matching. You don't have to swipe left or right on that one. It's okay. All right, y'all bear with me. I know this is interesting stuff. But bid matching, where we link you together with primes and have the opportunities for those to be subs and really a great linkage of what's coming down the pipe as we bid projects. And then, of course, a lot of other resources, and those are always, finance, bonding capabilities, and able to provide more information to you there. So this is a very important feature, a very important service we provide. In addition, on the state side, sort of interesting, we have to separate the federal dollars and the state dollars. And back to the Transportation Funding Act of 2015, we made a big commitment that we would continue to try to grow small business, veteran-owned business, DBE business through a state-supported services contract. And so we have this service provided by MH Miles Company. I actually have a help center just right down the way here in Decatur for a physical presence. Please call to arrange. We have facilities you can use. We provide training there. We have office facilities. If you need to meet with clients or bring people in, you can use that conference room or breakout rooms there. Again, focused on training, providing lots of events. If you click on that website, you will see a calendar of events that will be very beneficial. Again, project information here that's really focused on state-funded projects, not the federal-funded projects. And then a great relationship to our district offices that put out that work. And the participation on the state side has grown. It will continue to grow because of our budget is very good. We had a favorable budget this year and for 23. Those district connections, and I see a former district engineer in the audience, Van Mason. So he and his other colleagues worked very hard to put out the work of invitations to bid of single contracting type maintenance activities, which has been such a great way to enter the market, the GDOT sort of job market for a lot of small businesses and DBEs. These you get on basically a master contract to say if you want to do guardrail repair, for example, that you sign up for guardrail repair and you say which counties you want to work in, and when a district has a need for guardrail repair, they'll reach out, and then you're already under contract, and it becomes you bid at that point, and automatically you get that information emailed to you. You submit a bid. Very seamlessly, we're able to go to work and get you to work. Also, we have quick response projects. These are smaller projects, a couple $100,000 or less, to do things like extend turn lanes, or they could be maintenance activities as well. And then our state capital construction program, we're attaching DBE goals to that as well. And then the Transportation Investment Act projects in our 4 regions where those have passed, sort of down in this middle and south part of the state. We've seen some great success, and those dollar values continue to grow, and they will continue to do so with our positive budget situation we have. So just summing this up very quick, I love John F. Kennedy's quote, because this is the way what I feel about the bipartisan infrastructure law is the rising tide does lift all the boats. And as we see these dollars implemented, there will create opportunities that we've never seen before. I also used this last week in a presentation. It is the best of times and a little bit of the worst of times, right? So right now, funding, Congress funded the bipartisan infrastructure law. The state funding is very good. Obviously, the economy we live in is a challenge. I believe this will be short-lived. I'm always an optimist of the future, that some cost and things sort of recover, and that these dollars get leveraged to the maximum degree possible. The one thing I mentioned about the major mobility improvement projects, we did an industry forum just a few weeks ago and laid out a timetable for these massive mega projects. I'll just put it this way. They're not going to start tomorrow. We've got a few projects coming out over the next year or two, but they will add billions on top of the billions we're already putting out as well, on top of the IIJA, because a lot of these are leveraged private dollars as well. So as we're being here at Piedmont Technical College, it is really awesome to see what they're investing in the future. There's a tremendous investment in the future here from Georgia DOT and US DOT that will keep Georgia prosperous, and the opportunity will abound. We're just going to need people to get the work done. As somebody said at the very beginning, it's human capital. So thank you for your interest in what we're doing at GDOT. Our door is always open, and we don't have always the best solutions, so we're always open to listen to solutions, input, critique of how we can do things better. Kimberly will tell you it's all about making things better. That's our focus. So look forward to the dialogue today, and thank you for taking time to be here this morning.
Our next speaker this morning is Collie Greenwood. Collie Greenwood is a 35-year transit veteran with operations, administrative, and transformation experience ranging from frontline operations to executive leadership. Through his career at the Toronto Transit Commission, Collie led a team of over 9,500 dedicated men and women to provide top-notch bus, subway, streetcar, accessible transit, station services, transit security, and a structured maintenance program for all modes. Greenwood joined MARTA as the Chief of Bus Operations and Urban Planning in July 2019 and was appointed Deputy General Manager, Operations and Urban Planning. In January 2022, Greenwood was appointed by the MARTA Board of Directors' unanimous vote to serve as the interim general manager and CEO of MARTA. Collie is an active member of the American Public Transportation Association, serving as vice chair of its Standards Development Oversight Council, and was a founding board member of Georgia's Fulton Technology and Energy Enhancement Authority. In his new role as GM CEO, Greenwood inspires leadership and accountability for all facets of bus, rail, facilities, and transit infrastructure for the growing city of Atlanta and surrounding areas. He oversees MARTA's most ambitious transit expansion and modernization program since its founding over 40 years ago. He will work closely with his senior leadership team to develop and deliver major capital projects to enhance the customer experience, including the largest in MARTA's history, the delivery of new rail cars, and the addition of electric buses to MARTA's fleet. Collie holds a BA in political science from the University of Waterloo, Ontario, Canada. Please welcome Collie Greenwood.
Thank you, Manuela, and good morning, everyone. It's always interesting to hear what they're saying about me in these introductions because you never know what you're doing now or what you're doing next. So it's interesting to listen to that. I sat there really impressed and amazed at the similarities between what Mr. McMurray was saying and what I planned to say. And I think we're all here collected in the same space for the same reason, because it is indeed an unprecedented time. In my 35 years, I have not seen this level of support and energy from all levels of government for roads, infrastructure, transportation, and more specifically, transit. So it's very exciting for us. And Russ was also alluding to the fact that, this is today's opportunity is tomorrow's albatross if we don't execute on these opportunities as quickly as we intend to, as quickly and as effectively as we promise to when we go, door to door asking for funding. So we've done that. The funding's available. We now need to make sure that our resources are aligned, updated and educated and ready to go in terms of these shovel-ready projects. So I just want to jump in and talk to you very quickly about how our story begins. It's good news. And so for MARTA specifically, there's a 30% increase in formula funds and over what we had just in previous years. So Congress has been very effective for us. We've had a lot of support from senators. We've had Mr. Ossoff, Mr. Warnock, and a lot of our congresspersons and representatives. And because of that, MARTA stands to receive about $30 million a year more than we previously had. So that's a lot of money. And in fact, over the next 5 years, it's $150 million. And when you consider that that's for our state of good repair programs, that means structural maintenance, that means facility rehabilitation, it means vehicle replacement, a lot of money coming into, to use the same sort of adage that Mr. McMurray used, in buckets. We've got buckets such as formulas based on population and miles of revenue service. We've got buckets based on state of good repair and buckets based on bus and bus facilities. But overall, MARTA stands to enjoy about $900 million in funding that we didn't have to look forward to in the past. So it amounts to a lot of money, primarily for capital, but also for operations and bus maintenance. And we really need to start thinking about what our opportunities are for spending that. So we have ongoing work in progress with our new rail car fleet. Everyone's aware of the new rail cars, the CQ400 coming out with Stadler being the prime on that. But there's a lot of work to be done in the area of maintaining those vehicles and even the infrastructure that supports those vehicles. We've got TR4 underway, but track renovation 4 is just one phase of a perpetual commitment to track renovation and rehabilitation of our right-of-way and structural systems. Same with escalator and elevator work. That again is perpetual. And anyone that's been involved with the vertical circulation elements, you recognize that there's a whole strategy around it. There's a whole discipline around it that we can't sort of try to get by with just anything less than a perfect program. So we're sitting at 99.5% readiness when it comes to our escalators. But that 0.5% that we're missing is the bane of our existence when it goes down. And so that actually means a lack of access to the entire network sometimes for people that depend on escalators and elevators. So help with making sure that we execute on that maintenance and those refurbishments is essential. Ours, of course, is a dynamic system. Just bridge work alone, we've got about 14 miles of bridges in the MARTA system. We've got tunnels, tracks, structure, roofing, power systems, and we have job order contracts for consultant services, construction services, and inspection work beginning as early as this May. So, of course, you may have heard that we're also opening up our Clayton operations and maintenance facility, a multimodal facility. Construction on that begins as early as next year. That will be out in Clayton County. It'll be, our first foray into Clayton County in terms of a bricks and mortar facility. So that means supplies. That means, oil, water, antifreeze, and all those things that you'd normally already have established in your immediate vicinity. It's remote, so we're starting from scratch geographically, and it gives us and our suppliers an opportunity to expand and develop relationships in that county. When it comes to our discretionary funds, this new law further allows us to apply for discretionary funding in the way of CIG and RAISE and low emission, no emission service products. So our vehicles, our electric chargers, our infrastructure, our power alignment. This change to the maximum project cost from 300 million to 400 million certainly for MARTA unlocks a whole bunch of our previous projects that were kind of lined up in the queue, but just kind of over the $300 million threshold mark. And so we had to wait until we could actually find opportunities to bring in projects that were under the mark. Now that it's up to $400 million, it unlocks a lot of our projects that were sort of in the queue, and we can advance more projects to the shovel-ready state and execute on several projects at the same time. So that means more opportunities again for our contractors and our suppliers. The 2040 expansion project opportunities, this is just a partial list of opportunities coming your way soon. It's a result of MARTA's forward-facing expansion plans and the new levels of support from our champions, as earlier mentioned. I wanted to just press play on this and share with you an example of a success story with Moody. Many of you are aware of Moody and the work they do in the community, but if I press play here, let's see if it works.
Indian Creek is near and dear to my heart. It's going to be spruced up, it's going to be improved, it's going to be exciting, and I'm really proud to be a part of this, especially as a DeKalb County resident. My name is Charles David Moody Jr., and I am the founder and president of C.D. Moody Construction Company. I've always thought the MARTA system and stations look good. It's also important to upgrade them, to keep them fresh, to make it a really pleasing experience, especially for our next generation of riders. Well, this project, the MARTA Rehab Project, is very near and dear to my heart because I'm probably one of the few people who was a MARTA bus driver in 1977. So it's pretty cool. I've kind of come full circle from a MARTA bus driver to now helping renovate some of the stations. I'm really proud to be a partner with Carol Daniels. We take experiences from both companies. We both have been working in transportation and rehab type projects, and we bring our expertise together on the MARTA project.
Indian Creek is the east end of the line, the east line, so it is the front door to the MARTA rail system for really anyone coming from the east. In this particular case, we're working with Access Infrastructure here at Indian Creek, and our goal and our approach is to team with MARTA and with Access to help everybody end up with the right product at the right price at the end of the project.
So this station is really cool because it has a barrel roof system on it. It's open to the outdoors and to nature. Some of the changes at this station in particular that you'll find is there'll be a brand new lit walkway from the parking lot into the station. When you get into the concourse level, all of the tile will be cladded over with a skin or surface. So that'll all be cleaned up and look great. A lot of the concrete that's in disrepair will all be replaced. All the signage and sign structures themselves will all be replaced. And there are new public restrooms that are going to be installed. And we have this barrel roof. It's a wood roof. We're going to light the station from inside, so you're going to get a really cool architectural glow to the structure that really highlight the architectural features of this station. It'll be very impressive.
Indian Creek is a special one for me because this is my station. This is where I live. We use this station all the time. My first contract was an $88,000 contract in underground Atlanta, working right next to MARTA and the 5 Point station all the time. And here I am, 33 years later, actually working on the MARTA stations. Here I am, getting a chance to live a dream and work on the MARTA stations, and that means a lot to me. Upgrading these stations, I think, is going to be very important for that next generation of riders, but also take care of the current riders who've been loyal to MARTA for a lot of years.
So it's funny, I was talking to Frank Rucker, Mr. Rucker in the front row here earlier about C.D. Moody, and what Frank said was, yeah, Moody's well established, people know who Moody is, and that's a good success story, but he said, but what he's focused on is the next success story. And that was such a poignant remark that I thought I'd share it with the room. And so this slide was really designed for those that are new to the field, new in the landscape, wondering how do they actually get involved with MARTA? What's the next move in terms of what they would do? So for some of you, this comes as second nature, but for those that it doesn't, it's just a really quick indication of how you actually do work with MARTA. Going into the website, clicking on the more, button, and then going into the procurement title, then looking for either current opportunities or anticipated opportunities. And I would encourage people to keep close tabs on this, more so in a stronger cadence than previously, because as you know, there's more funding, there's more opportunities. All those projects that were in a queue of the someday projects, they're coming to light. So keep an eye on those. The media references is, it's AJC, it's the Georgia Local Government Access Marketplace, glga.org. And industry and trade publications. Reference to DBE there. Of course, Mr. McMurray spoke of that as well, but MARTA is very, very focused on the DBE program, has been for a very long time. And so those are the federal CFR references up there. We're looking for improvement in opportunities for small business owners. Socially disadvantaged groups include Black, Hispanic, Native American, Asian Pacific, subcontinental Asian American people, and all women. And economic disadvantaged people are those with a net worth of less than $1.3 million, which does not include the value of your primary residence or your DBE firm. Then we talk about formal procurements, which is anything that exceeds $200,000. Informal procurements is less than $200,000. And of course, the formal procurements go in with required formal advertising, board approval, and normally carry DBE goals, whereas the informal procurements have less of those stringent protocols. And of course, micro purchases, which is $10,000 or less. All of that to say that there's a lot of opportunity working with MARTA in the coming years. It starts as early as the next couple of months. We've got things in the queue right now. But it's about sharing the opportunity with your peers, making sure that people are aware that there's a lot of work to be done. We're working day and night, as the slide suggests. And as the demand increases, the funding keeps pace, and we will need you to partner with us more and more. When it comes to planes, trains, and automobiles, Mr. McMurray made the reference that this is not a cross-country journey. But in some respects, when it comes to transit and transportation, we're in this together. And so now that there's a federal level of support for the work that we're doing, and I've always said that transit is sort of like the common thread that kind of weaves together the fabric of the nation that it serves. It's important that we know what our funding opportunities are and what our work is, and it's important that we work with our regional partners and make sure that transit actually connects the tapestry that we're talking about in terms of our service areas. If we want to expand, if we want to continue to grow ridership, not only do we have to look for more opportunities and shovel-ready more projects, but we have to do a good job with the service we're currently providing. So it's not just expanding and building new structures, but it's about the opportunities to partner with us to do well with the structures that we have, to make sure our state of good repair, our cleanliness, and whatnot are the way they ought to be. That's the promise we made to our customers, and that's a promise we need you to help us keep. So thank you for the opportunity to speak with you here today, and I'll turn the mic back over.
Our next speaker is Frank Rucker. Frank Rucker is the Airport Deputy General Manager of Infrastructure at Hartsfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport. He oversees hundreds of Department of Aviation, program management, and construction management personnel to ensure that all aviation facilities meet or exceed industry standards. He has more than 40 years of experience in civil engineering, design, and project management, with more than 20 years of progressive experience in the aviation facilities industry, directing sophisticated, sustainable design and construction projects. Mr. Rucker has a rich history with Hartsfield-Jackson, having served as Assistant General Manager for Planning and Development. He also served previously as Director of Engineering, Planning, and Development, where he was responsible for implementing the Capital Development Program at ATL. He oversaw the construction of ATL's fifth runway, innovative hold baggage screening system, and a multitude of other complex projects. As a strategic thinker, Mr. Rucker brings sound technical, analytical, and engineering skills to deliver multi-million-dollar projects on schedule and within budget. His knowledge of full cycle program management builds on his considerable experience in consultant selection, contract development, and working with multidisciplinary teams. An Atlanta native, Mr. Rucker received a Bachelor of Science degree in Civil Engineering from the Georgia Institute of Technology. In addition, he is certified as a professional engineer, project management professional, and is an active member of the American Society of Civil Engineers. Please welcome Mr. Frank Rucker.
Well, first of all, greetings from the Mayor Dickens and our General Manager, B. Biodori. Nice to see everyone. It's always better to actually talk in person versus virtual. So just glad to be here. And I'm always just kind of blown away when Commissioner McMurray and colleague come and speak before me, because they're always coming with these tremendous programs. And I'm trying to figure out now. It says plane, trains, and automobiles. I'm always following these guys, and it's just the programs are so big. So what's going to be left for the airport? So Hartsfield-Jackson, we're looking for resources, but of course, when you come behind GDOT and MARTA, it's like, well, y'all just think we're still here, right? So let's see. If B was doing this presentation, the first thing he would ask is, what do you see in this picture? So I mean, just quickly, what do you see? What comes to mind? Huh? Yeah. All right. So I see progress. So when you go back, Hartsfield-Jackson was actually started and it was open in 1980. So it's over 40 years old now. But you see recent developments, and we continue to try to refresh the facility. So as we go through this presentation, we're talking about a major rehabilitation program that's basically going forward. All right, so basically, let me get I can't see that far. I'm gonna try to do this without putting on my glasses. All right, might be better if I do this. I'm just going to do it. I need to do it. So some of the things we want to focus on today is being our partnership with the community, our diversity and inclusion program, and preparing for the future and ways to participate. All right. So as always, we do recognize the value of the immense contributions of the contracting community to the success of our capital programs. And of course, at Hartsfield-Jackson, we've been building out here for the last 20 years. And we'll continue to do so for the next 15 to 20 years. So, in fact, the airport will never stop. Over the last decade, our performance at the airport in EBO participation is over 30%. We're showing 33, this year's 34. So, in the city's EBO program, we utilize FAA's DBE funds. So in our programs in general, we do, and we like to say we are industry leaders in basically participation. Just by the numbers. So since 2016, we actually, and this is a new program, so it's not the previous Hartsfield-Jackson development program. So this is the ATL Next that we started in 2016. We've actually had, and this is just approved invoices through January, $2.3 billion of work have been approved for payment. Of that work, diversity eligible is $1.8 billion, and the actual invoice to be paid to minority, female-owned businesses, DBEs, are basically at 625, which is bringing us somewhere around 33, 34%. And a breakout to each category is shown on this presentation. So we are continuing to basically move forward with those. And in fact, most of our contracts are actually awarded with a target in mind that supports that, okay? And by the way, I have Marsha Love Brown is here. She's the lead contracting person within the ATL Next program, a director of contracts there. You got Tim, who's basically with public affairs. I saw Aaron Davis and Yvonne Douglas, asset management team, so I'd like to appreciate and acknowledge those. So as we start the preparing for the future, we basically do our work based on three general pillars. Again, this is a major renewal replacement program that we're about to embark on, okay? We do capacity increases, so the last program we did, what we call the Hartsfield-Jackson Development Program, actually built the international terminal, the rental car center, and the fifth runway. So now it's time to basically look at the core infrastructure and make sure we bring that up to the same level. And of course, we're always looking to enhance our customer service at the facility. So when we started this ATL Next program in 2016, we were targeting about a $6 billion program. When I first got back to Hartsfield-Jackson back in April of last year, one of the first things the airlines came and started talking about was we need to add more projects to the program. So after going through a fairly rigorous exercise with the airlines, we've pretty much settled somewhere where the overall program will be $10.8 billion, of which we've already completed since 2016. You see the graph, about $1 billion, and we also have another 1.3 that's already out the door. So that's 2.3 from the 10. So that, what is that, $7.5 billion to go. And of course, that's over about a 20-year period through 2035. So we about 13 years. Now, what's interesting in this graph is the fact that we've always, we do an operation first. We've always done about $500 million per year on average, and this is going back through the 20-year period with Hartsfield-Jackson. So now we've been requested to ramp up our output, almost doubling to $800 million a year, and still maintain operations. So it's a logistical concert to actually do all this work and still maintain the operations of the world's busiest airport. So it's going to be a tough thing to kind of look at. The next slide kind of illustrates over the next 5 years what we intend to do and the annual output. So the black talks about the number of projects that will be ongoing at any one time. So when the commissioner or MARTA, you talk about, all the projects they're doing on their networks, of course, state of Georgia, statewide, MARTA's system-wide, we got basically that 4,700 acres of Hartsfield-Jackson, and we're going to be doing all these projects on an annual basis. So this is going to be a tough deal to do. Again, projected expenditures, that sky blue line on horizontal is about $800 million. So you're seeing where we are, and we are now basically preparing to do this work, and I'll show you how we hope to do it. Just quickly, project by locations, we'll be working all over this facility. So not only are you looking at the domestic terminals, the concourses, every concourse out there we'll be doing work on. So you see the blue with A, B, C, and D. We are getting ready to widen D, and we're going to redo concourse, the international concourse. We're constantly basically doing runways and taxiways. We're doing something on AGTS, and we're going to expand our cargo operations. So every year you can see that for the next 5 years, and that only thing we're illustrating for the next 5, because I always tell people, programs go about 0 to 5. You're pretty certain about what you're going to do. As you're doing that work, you begin to change what becomes your priority somewhere and basically reestablish what the priority will be 6 to 10. So let's focus on the first 5. So upcoming projects, the concourse D widening. We're talking about $625 million to widen this concourse, which is going to be one of the hardest projects I've ever seen in Hartsfield-Jackson. So stay tuned for that, and I'll tell you some of the trades we're expecting. but with increasing the boarding level floor by 70%. So it's the smallest concourse that was built when they built the initial facility. So it's time. You can just look, if anybody's ever caught a plane down Concourse D, it's time, to widen that thing. All right, so that's on the way. Let's see, hold on, back one. Okay, so Concourse E, we think of that. Concourse E was actually open in somewhere 1995, so now it's aged. So it's time to basically redo all the core infrastructure and the aesthetics. So basically we're planning on doing that kind of work there. Parking decks. All right. So the original parking decks were basically opened in 1980. So we are now getting ready to redo the parking decks. We're going to start come May 1st. We're going to do a structural rehab on the south deck, then move to the north deck. But at the same time, we're going to start building replacement parking. So South Economy lot where basically you'll start seeing a new parking deck that will probably start construction in 23 in anticipation of having that up in operation by 26. And then start tearing down the existing domestic deck. So you got to basically replace parking because you can't do without it. All right. North Terminal modernization, similar what Delta did a few years ago. We're going to be looking at rehabbing the North Terminal. So in the domestic terminal, we're going to add cargo. So we are currently doing a site preparation job, but we'll have a third party on a P3 contract come in and actually build a building there also. So, we're looking at e-commerce and basically getting ready for the future. So ways to participate. Now, this is very important because on our toolbox, we have some flexibility in what we do. So we got different methods that we actually procure and we'll continue to try to move these projects through. Again, in order for us to basically ramp up and double our output, we're going to have to do so something a little bit different, get outside the box. So we do design bid build, we do design builds, we do CMRs at risk and progressive design builds. We also have our own call services with our large AEs, our small AEs. We got a managing general contractor program as well as under procurement right now. We got what we call our own call CMRs. So if you're not part of the JV teams that actually get these awards, especially CMR contracts, just be mindful of the fact that they will go out with multiple solicitations for their scopes of work. So say for instance, on the Concourse D widening, it's a CMR that's already been selected and we're working through the contracting process, but we'll be basically dividing that scope of work up into various packages, and those packages will be consistent to get participation up to a level where we need to have it, and it will be multiple things that'll be bid under the CMR. And, so if anybody's familiar with how we do work, that's the way we will begin to basically, try to foster participation and get them to a level that people can basically come and help us. So I look forward to this on-call CMR. So projects, which we call kind of medium-sized projects, $10 to $75 million. We're going to actually do a lot of those projects through an on-call CMR process. And again, we will have multiple solicitations that basically, complete those scopes of work. Okay, so our needs, well, as everybody talked about earlier, we resources are a big concern, and we got to basically, not only do we need the smaller contractors to really be focused on what we're doing. So in the trades, our general building trades, we got all that work that we're going to do in the concourses and terminals. We're going to do parking systems. We're going to do airside, landside. So big, heavy civil works, concrete pavement probably is what we do. And those tend to be more specialized, but we got a lot of facility, support facilities, renewal replacements that we'll be doing. And again, those general building trades will be big as we go through and do what we're doing here. And as always, stand knowledgeable as to how things are coming out. So we always advertise City of Atlanta procurement portal. We do our various outreach sessions. We are looking to award some upcoming contracts. So we got a managing general contractor solicitation the construction manager risk, what we call on-call, and be mindful. We do work through some of the operating partners out at the airport. So the Atlanta Airline Terminal Corporation, ATC, will be performing work, and they're obligated to basically bring in participation at the same level, whether it be minority, female, or business. We got Delta Airlines that will be helping us, and we do this work, and they made a commitment to the program. Georgia Power is basically doing redundancy power, and they tend to do work at their own staff. So with that, thank you. All right.
Thank you. And with that, I'm going to invite our speakers to the stage so that we may have a conversation. I'm just going to get to it. I will start our conversation with Kali today. What does the bipartisan infrastructure law mean for MARTA?
It means opportunity unlocked. It means that the programs that we had hoped to get started on but really didn't have a funding source or kind of support from the federal level, it means that that is now available to us. Again, the $300 million ceiling was kind of magical, the way that changing it from $300 million maximum to $400 million maximum opened the door to a lot of projects that were previously in the queue, and now, like the Clayton County Operations and Maintenance Facility is now ready to be advanced because that was just $338 million. It means that a lot of these projects can go in a more nimble landscape with, I won't say less rigor, but it's just a faster landscape in terms of going back to FTA and the checks and balances. We have to go back to them once instead of twice. Saves a lot of time, and it really just opens the door to a lot of our construction opportunities.
Thanks, Kali. Russell, did you want to take on that same question?
Yeah, let me, one, I just want to build off the comments from Kali and Frank, and I think Frank's slide of the capital program did a really good job of, and I wished I'd had one that showed that as well, because between just these three entities here, the amount of dollar volume of work over the next decade plus is larger than we've seen, I think, ever in Georgia at any one time over this decade. And one of the graphs we used in our major mobility improvement program industry forum was showing what this looks like, because as you as private business, you don't like to see things up and down, right? You can't prepare for that, you can't grow for that, you can't, you want to continue to grow, just like Mr. Moody on the video showed. So when you look at the trajectory, and as I mentioned in my comments, about what the bipartisan infrastructure law does on top of MMIP from surface transportation, capital improvement program at MARTA, capital program at the airport, that's all on top of the sort of the base of where we are. So it's really exciting in a lot of ways, and in some ways it's a little bit scary because labor is a premium right now, but there's just going to be jobs, and I guess that's what I want to build upon is the bipartisan infrastructure law being that 5-year funded program is just absolutely critical that we can plan and react. And all of us have talked about being reactive, meaning executing the program. It's really the best of times, as I said. So, and when you couple these three entities together for Metro Atlanta, it's huge, and it's all of Georgia. So, and that's on top of the state of good repair. And I probably should have said that. That is absolutely foundational to everything we do. You always take care of. Let's say you take care of the house first, right? Before you want to plant some flowers or put the deck on the back of the house. So, we got a state of good repair, and as Kali highlighted that, and as Frank talked about this again, the things that have to be done on an ongoing basis. Bipartisan infrastructure law gave us that confidence that we know we can do that plus more. So, it is a tremendous opportunity. It's a little bit of the dog that caught the car, right? Okay, we've been advocating for years. We need more federal investment, more federal investment. The state certainly has stepped up back in 2015 on the surface transportation side. And now we have caught that proverbial car, so we've really got to get out there and deliver as this comes out. But let me refine that too, because it's going to take some time. So the money takes a little while to flow. There is, with federal dollars, there's a federal planning process that must be followed. The main player for that here in Metro Atlanta is the Atlanta Regional Commission, and they are ready for that. They're going to make provisions to basically, you have to take these dollars, put them into the Transportation Improvement Program, and state the projects or the programs and how those dollars are going to be used. It's a very public process. So it's going to take some time to get those things stood up, and the good news is there's a little bit of time to meter out how this work goes, but it's still pretty compressed. But there is a process there that we have to appreciate and understand, and also from a transparency point of view, it shows you where these dollars will be used initially. And as I mentioned in my comments, one of the other parts is until the funding was fully appropriated just a few weeks ago, USDOT and the modal agencies, be it FTA or FAA or Federal Highway, they couldn't work on the programs that weren't funded. The new programs, My Yellow Bucket, they just couldn't, there was no funding for that. They didn't have congressional intent to work on those programs. So they're standing up what all those rules of engagement are, and with discretionary as well. So more of that will be coming out. We'll be able to be responsive as a transportation department to be responsive for whatever those criteria are to engage with those dollars. But that sort of applies across the board. So it passed last year, and everybody's like, "What you going to do? What you going to do?" It's like, well, they need to fund it. So it took a little while to get the funding in place. And let me close this question with also acknowledgement what the Georgia legislature did in the state budget for Department of Transportation in this current budget year. They set aside additional dollars to match these new federal dollars. So federal dollars, depends on the program, generally 80% federal, 20% match. It varies by program, certainly by mode as well. But we would have had to slow down some of those state-funded programs, of which we're having great success with small business, veteran-owned, and DBE, to take those dollars and match the federal. But the legislature put in almost $107 million in this budget year that we match these federal dollars and not slow up our state-funded programs. So that was a huge investment. That's a lot of money, and so we're super excited with that, and that will keep all our programs moving forward in an additive manner, whereas before, even with more federal money, there would have been less state money to do our state-supported service type projects. So that was a fantastic outcome, and I'm just ecstatic about that. It's beside us Monday morning. I'm really ecstatic.
So we saw the presentations and we saw a few slides on DBE participation and DBE utilization, but I would like to dig a little bit more into what that really means. And so I'm gonna start with Frank. Can you, first of all, show of hands, how many DBE owners here? Okay. So what does this mean for this audience today? What does it really mean? What does IIJA mean? What does it mean that it's coming to the region and it's coming to our agencies? What does that mean for this audience?
Okay, so the airport is a bit different. We are under, of course, the City of Atlanta's jurisdiction, so we have what we have. For the most part, when we look at our funding sources, we fund the majority of our projects. So we basically, in coordination, we execute agreements with the respective airlines. We actually generate revenue, and we do get some federal grants, but primarily it's pretty much in-house funding, if you want to call it that. So the City of Atlanta focuses on what we call an Equal Business Opportunity Program. So of course, you have to be in compliance with the Office of Contract Compliance, or basically certified by the Office of Contract Compliance. So we're a bit different from both GDOT as well as MARTA. And from that standpoint, even though we do get some federal participation, which we primarily utilize on some of our payments. So I would say we need to, if you're gonna work at the airport, you need to focus in making sure you get your certifications from the City of Atlanta's Office of Contract Compliance, because our funding is already there. We will be implementing up to $800 million of work this year. So our fiscal 23 budget is going to be in the range of $850. And it will stay that way for the next 10 years. So, but it's a different system. So we'd be mindful of that. Now we are getting some infrastructure monies. So of the $800 million, I think we are designated to get about, I think it's somewhere around $92 million per year. So you see that's about 10% of what we do. We're going out for some of that discretionary money, but of course, you know, you had to compete for that. And we feel we have some strong candidates. So when we do get awarded some federal monies, we will basically utilize DBEs, procurement methods, so we can actually apply for those things. But, you know, so we use a number of things, but really more EBO versus DBE, where we come from.
Yeah, and I think in MARTA's case, it also means that as a DBE, it's an opportunity to sort of reset and refresh the target, if you will, from your perspective in terms of the business you're doing with MARTA. We know that there's opportunities in terms of project design, project consulting, construction, and then ongoing maintenance of the project. So whether an entity comes on as the prime or is out there connected with primes as subs, it just means there's it's a sea change in terms of the amount of work that's coming down the pipeline. I think access to workforce is an issue that, you know, DBEs have to keep their eye on in terms of are you staffed up for today's work, and are you out there looking for staffing to keep you ready for tomorrow's level of work. We're all facing the same shortfall, and you know, there's work to be done today in order to be prepared for tomorrow.
Yeah, let me build on that, and again, going back to the funding part at the state level is going to continue our state supportive services work, where there's a lot of sort of ease of entry, or I think a great point of entry to do a single purpose type task, if that's what your company does, that gives you that opportunity. But one of the things that Kimberly King and her team do well, and we want to continue to do this through our supportive services contracting, is again to educate and provide opportunity to learn about how it is that you can engage or have an entry into department. And we've talked a lot today about this sort of capital or big operational type ongoing work, but there's lots of opportunities for participation that may be things like, you know, professional services, accounting, you know, or janitorial, or, you know, any of those kind of other business functions that do get credit. And that's one of the things we continue to talk to our contracting industry about is, look, seek out participation in a variety of manners. And one of the things that is very important as we move forward on these major projects over the next, you know, 4 or 5 years through procurements that take just forever. But one of the things is we put on our slide at the industry forum was we want to maximize project value. And a couple of things we had on there was equity and workforce development. And so that's going to be something we're going to ask these big developers to be responsive to in their proposals, is about how are they going to address workforce development and equity, not only equity around the project of impacts to communities, but also in the business itself. And so this becomes, when you have whole contractors or developers responsive, that they have to be responsive to what they're going to do, and then you have to hold them accountable for executing that as they go forward. I think that's certainly a big important way again to diversify and bring more people to the table than have traditionally been thought about in the past, because there are a lot of, as we certified DBEs, and as Frank said, if you're not, everybody raise your hand, you know what it is. If you haven't raised your hand, make sure, one, you're getting certified and then pre-qualified to do work with each of these entities, and MARTA does the same thing as far as certification of DBE. So make sure you're engaged and don't miss that opportunity if you're not already a DBE. I think those are the things that I sort of think about as, what does it mean? It means a lot of things. And again, just with the volume of work over the long haul, it's a great time to invest.
So Russell, you sort of got into my next question. Workforce development is absolutely the conversation we're all having right now. And you talked a little bit about the supportive services that DOT offers, but I do want to ask the question to everybody else. And this is a question from one of our DBEs. Are there any special efforts occurring or initiatives to build capacity of DBEs and other small businesses that are interested in certification? Is there anything different or new or complementing what's going on from your agencies?
Outside of, I guess I'd focus on outreach and the fact that we are, MARTA is being specific and intentional about outreach and where we go, where we advertise, where we hold our job fairs, and partnering with local agencies that will increase our exposure to DBE firms and communities where DBEs are more likely to see that we're posting and that we're interested. At the same time, we're making sure that we're future facing when it comes to recruitment. One might say we used to recruit for bus mechanics, and now that thinking is shifting to technicians, right? Bus technicians, in recognition of the fact that the technology is changing, and we want to make sure that our DBE and everyone is aware of the fact that we're looking for a new skill set, and we're quite prepared to help train for it. So it's getting out into the community, and it's also connecting today's community with tomorrow's needs, changing even the title to bus technician, and emphasizing that we're looking for skill sets that are geared towards a different propulsion system in the specific case of bus technicians.
Okay, from the airport's perspective, outreach is very important. We've done numerous sessions. We started doing programs back in 2000 where we would actually, engage smaller business and basically how to enhance their performance under the general contracting arena. I found it interesting when the commissioner was mentioning the various programs, and I really would be interested to see how that's working. But I will say we need to enhance what we're doing, not just only going through the outreach, but actually continuing to basically reinforce just overall development. Now, I was talking to Clayton State Friday, and one of the things that I mentioned is that we need to start working with the educational institutions to basically move and start developing more teams that are capable not only of running small businesses efficiently, but also moving into the general contracting arena. And because as you go forward in the future with all the work we're talking about, we're gonna need it. So it's got to be an initiative that collectively we actually initiate.
So I have another question, and this is again based on some of the information that we saw in the earlier slides when Russell was presenting. Another question from our DBEs. How is your agency preparing the DBE community to perform more as prime consultants?
Yeah, well, I'll jump on that. Well, one, again, I just can't emphasize enough the supportive services opportunities that we're providing. And I ramble through in my presentation, one of the ways to engage as a prime is in the maintenance contracting activities of where basically we'll execute a contract, initial contract, and then so you're basically on-call services. And then when each district has a need for those maintenance type activities, you get an electronic notification via email to whoever you want in your company to get that notification to submit a bid. And since you're already under contract, we do go with low bid on that. It's very quickly, then we just execute basically a task order type agreement to go do that work. So that is a perfect way to gain entry as a prime, doing usually a single year activity, which then builds the capacity and capability to go after bigger work as prime. And as you saw that chart I showed you, that how much that had increased, and that's something we're very proud of, is that we're seeing more DBs being prime and have that opportunities. Again, those projects are typically more narrow in scope of activity, but it shows you that with focus and direction, Kimberly and the team and our supportive services contractors have helped change that trajectory. And so, and as I mentioned a minute ago, gaining access and having success begets success, as the saying goes. We've got to be able to help gain that entry into the sector so that success can build the next success, and you can continue to grow and take on those capabilities. And so, again, as far as it relates to prime, we didn't have that opportunity before of sort of a point of entry that was not a subcontractor. And now we do have that point of entry. And as I mentioned before as well, we have the funding that will be sustainable to keep us with the ability to continue to have those opportunities. So that was very important. I was very concerned through the budget process that if we had to just take the more state dollars to match the federal, those type of contracting opportunities actually would decline, but that was not the case. And again, a big shout out to our legislature and the governor for signing the budget for this year that took care of that. So that's big. But that's sort of what comes to mind is how do you have those opportunities for prime. I think those are it. And of course, the other thing we have to continue to do is look for the packaging of the projects or the sizing of the project that creates those opportunities. It's easy to cobble a lot of big things together and put it out. It makes life easier on us because it's one procurement instead of multiple procurements. But we need to be sensitive to how we can package and bundle things that make sense, that give opportunities for DBE to be primes.
We also consider remaining clear, transparent, objective about the work that's available, about making sure that everything's communicated to everyone is a key part of that equation. But also our Office of Diversity and Inclusion has a role to play whenever DBE primes or subs are on the property, that they maintain regular communication with them and have monthly interviews and discussions with the subs to make sure that they are, their expectations are being met in terms of the relationship with the primes. And during those conversations, again, the opportunity is there for subs to ask questions about, what would I need to do to take this on to get a larger role in the MARTA landscape. So, it's clarity, it's transparency, but it's an ongoing relationship and dialogue with the subs.
Frank?
Just real quickly, a lot of things I've heard from the previous two gentlemen here. So one of the things we do is we try to target, through the use of our construction management construction management at risk programs, targeting where the available resources are within the community, and utilizing, once you understand those resources, try to go to packaging, and Commissioner mentioned packaging, to basically make sure that we achieve the desired goal in getting participation. Now, understanding and packaging, you gotta think about bonding capacity and things of that nature. So, cutting packages to the level where we can actually the DBEs, or we call it minority female-owned businesses, small businesses, can actually basically bond the work associated with what we'd be basically procuring. We do job programs, so job order contracting, where we are looking at doing task order awards for less than $1 million. We do small business initiatives. And we also do what we call MGC initiatives. So basically, we utilize the industry, so some of the larger contractors, to actually help us in actually cutting the packages and basically doing the procurements there too. So, all right.
Thank you. So next question. I like this question, and I'm very curious to hear how you answer it. The question is, what keeps you up at night, and how does the consultant community help you with that?
Work related? I may have touched on this earlier, but in this day and age, it really is availability of workforce and the bandwidth to execute on the promises that we've made. And so that's a great segue to the fact that we're speaking to people today that are really the answer to that nightmare. MARTA as an entity couldn't possibly scale up, even when workforce acquisition was not an issue. We couldn't scale up on a permanent basis for the type of projects that we have coming. Now that you combine the fact that workforce is scarce and the fact that projects are coming in multiples of anything more than one, now that the queue has been opened with the IIJA, we need workforce, and we need people that are qualified and firms that are tooled up to do that work. So that's my main concern, is workforce, the bandwidth. We said it earlier, money's here, the dog has caught the car, now we got to get the work done.
Yeah, I'll jump on that. My mind went to a lot of places. I'm glad Kali jumped in on that first. It's work for us. For me, what keeps me up at night is a couple things. Beside infrastructure failures and collapses, or trucks knocking down bridges, or things like that tend to wake you up in the wee hours of the morning. The biggest thing is personnel. In the obituary you read, it said we're 4,000 employees. We're actually 3,600 employees. We need to be 4,000 employees. And my take on that is that that's mainly in our maintenance operations. When there's an event that has freezing precipitation and the four-letter word that begins with an S, that white stuff that comes down, if it's, I don't say that word, that's a foul word to say, but if that event is Metro Atlanta and north, it's all hands. It takes everybody from across the state. And Van Mason, former district engineer from Tifton, Georgia, would send crews from Tifton and below to Metro Atlanta to respond. So we've got to build back our staff to near 4,000. The other part of that is we need to build back staff that certainly does not impact your opportunity. Let me say that. This does not impact any opportunity from the private sector. But what we need to do is be able to attract and hire talented staff members, get them exposed with the most experience they can. You heard the tenure of us sitting up on this stage that makes us all feel real old. But we've got to have our teams to be able to get experience very quick, exposure and experience, such that they can ultimately manage consultant contracts and be knowledgeable as the subject matter expert, as the owner, of what is it that the owner needs and how to manage that, and sit across the table and negotiate. What's more frustrating than trying to negotiate with somebody that doesn't know what they're talking about? So we've got to be able to keep that rotation of staff going. And as we're talking internally with our HR team and our divisions, we're saying we've got to rethink what a career is for everybody. And I think all of us face that, no matter what, public or private. Career, the gig mentality of employees is here now, so we have to revision what a career looks like. But what it certainly requires is extremely throw them in the deep end and train staff and employees to give them the most experience possible so that they can hopefully be successful for the agency's point of view. We already outsource tremendous percentages everywhere. That number will only increase. Even if we build back to 4,000 employees, the percentage of outsource, no matter what the function is still going to be higher than ever. And we probably average 60 to 70% outsourced across all the things that we do already. That number will continue to grow. So those kind of things worry me, beside the safety and health of our employees on a daily basis that are working in very dangerous conditions. That's the kind of big thing that might make me wake up at night.
Frank?
Very good. So I just wrote down what everybody said, and I would echo that all of the above. Now, one thing, basically, when we go to Georgia Tech and we talk about this, say, for instance, Georgia Tech, when you start looking at the various engineering schools, mechanical, electrical, civil, basically the lowest attended is civil. We're getting all this money on infrastructure, and nobody wants to be a civil engineer anymore. And I say civil engineering because everything associated with infrastructure development is not, quote, sexy to the up and coming generation. And we got to find a way to basically redefine what we're doing and how the importance. So, Commissioner, you hopped on this, basically kind of redefining the career path that basically deals with infrastructure. That is a major thing in our business. Because once all this work gets in and saturates the market, we ain't be able to do it no way. We got nobody who wants to do it. And that's going to be a key. Other thing I deal with is logistical considerations. Let's face it, it's time to rebuild this whole system, whether you're doing MARTA, GDOT, or the airport, and nobody wants to be inconvenienced, right? So 400 and 285, the interchange up there, or basically taking, when you start taking out the crossovers, or when we come down to the airport and we're basically doing major operations that impact operations, trying to maintain operations and doing major construction work in limited time is a major deal. And so, we have to spend a whole lot of time thinking about that. Operations are always first, regardless of what agency you're talking about. And, it gets tougher and tougher every day to do this.
It's like building the plane while you fly it, right? And I'll be driving by, for years, decades now, we've all been in the car when you're coming up on a real slow lane of traffic, and it's because there's road work ahead, and you take your 10 minutes to get to the point where the road work ought to be, but there's only one person out there, or maybe they're taking a break, and you just don't see the work happening. It's the same thing in the subway environment, right? If there's a slow order, and when you get to the point before you speed up, you don't see any reason for it, I think it's important for us all to remember to share with our customers, with our passengers, that there's more than meets the eye. We need to tell them, and MARTA started to do that with our track renovation, in terms of exactly what it is that's going on. What are we doing today? What are we doing tonight? How much closer are we to completion? So that folks understand that these delays are for a reason. There's gonna be a whole lot of dust in the air over the next 5-10 years. There's gonna be a whole lot of delay as this work gets done logistically, as Frank has said. And we've got to have the folks in the field that are doing the work be perceived as doing the work. And sometimes they are, but to the unwashed public, they just don't understand the work that's being done. But we also have to have a better way of communicating with the public about what it is that's happening. Because if we lose the faith and the patience of the public, then this work gets a lot harder.
I was just thinking about, and Colin, you just hit something. So faith of the public and basically, just really getting the awareness out. Again, I spoke about we're about to rehab parking, these parking decks at Hartsfield-Jackson. So come May 1st, we're taking 2,500 spaces out of service on the south side, right adjacent to the terminal. Can anybody imagine, what that's going to be like? While we do have replacement parking, but getting the word out to the traveling public that, hey, you can go to ATL West Deck, which has got 5,700 spaces. You can go to Selden Road Park Ride. You can utilize some of our parking, external park ride facilities there. We got enough to accommodate what our current, our perception of our daily need is. But getting that word out and asking for the public's patience in doing that. So
Well, thanks for getting the word out, because I go to the airport quite often.
Mm-hmm.
Now I know. I appreciate it. Fair.
There you go.
Very good.
All right.
We are going to wrap up our conversation, but before we wrap it up, I'm going to ask each person here to just leave our audience with one word, just one. What is the one word? And then I'm going to turn it over to Kimberly King. Russell, what's your one word?
You know me well enough to know that I don't have one word.
You get 2 syllables.
Well. Opportunity.
Love.
My one word is tsunami.
Okay. So we got opportunity. We got love.
You might want to reorder that a little bit.
And we got tsunami.
We love the tsunami of opportunity.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well done, Russ.
There it is. Kimberly King, please join us.
I am not Kimberly King. I'm here for her. No, I'm kidding. I am Kimberly King. I think that our panelists gave us a really wonderful place for me to start and end, right? So we love the tsunami of opportunity that's coming. I think that's absolutely what this is. This is about your hearing from the experts what's coming. And our job is to sort of assist them in making sure that you as an audience have access to that opportunity. So, we at the Georgia Department of Transportation's Equal Employment Opportunity Office are all about helping to provide that access. So that's really what this is about. You have had this morning, I think, this wonderful synergy that's happening. You've got GDOT, you've got MARTA, you've got the airport. We're at Georgia Piedmont College, and President Holston talked about, what he is doing here at the school to create these opportunities for student learning, right? For that student learning to become the workforce that we're looking for to take advantage of that tsunami of opportunity. So this wonderful synergy is represented here, right? We need the workforce to get involved in the activity, but we've got to have access to that activity so that the work can get done, so that you're not inconvenienced going to the airport, unless, of course, you use MARTA and then you get there quicker and more efficiently. You're not using the car, right? But again, in all seriousness, I think that the conversation here has been all about synergy. Understand that we are here and we're in this together, right? We are constantly trying to figure out where best we can serve the public, where best we can serve the traveling public to keep them safe, to make it as convenient as possible for them to travel, to make it convenient for them to travel. And so all of that safety, convenience, all of those opportunities really are represented here today. With this panel, with your audience, it's here, it's happening now, it's going to be happening for the next 5 years. You need to let us know how we can help you to get engaged in this tsunami of opportunity that's coming, because it is coming. And we absolutely are going to need help in managing all of that opportunity. We talked about, making people aware of what's coming. That's marketing. That's public relations. So not everything is going to be trucking. And can we use trucking? And how about some trucking? The commissioner talked about diversifying the opportunities that are being made available. Here is that diversity. Here is the opportunity to do any number of things in relation to our traveling public, in relationship to their convenience, in relationship to their safety, in relationship to their mobility. All of that is represented here today. So we're here. We're ready to help. One of our board members, Stacy Key, she says GDOT is open for business. She's constantly telling us GDOT is open for business. So the state of Georgia, I'm going to say, is open for business. And this tsunami of opportunity is coming, and you need to be in a position to take advantage of it. And that's what we're here to help you do. So let us know. I am here. There are staff people here from GDOT. Hey, GDOT staff people. There used to be GDOT staff people. Hey, used to be GDOT staff people. So, we're here. We are a family. We are constantly thinking of ways that we can help, that we can be assistive, that we can help you to be a participant. We know what we're doing because the commissioner expects us to know what we're doing. And so we know what we're doing. We love what we're doing, and we hope that we're doing it well for you. So please give us an opportunity to assist, to serve, to be of service to you. Thank you.